champagne. Ooh. Amigos y amigas, the evolution is alive and well. We have moved beyond beer pong. We have moved out of our parents' basements, and we have moved the gaming console from a milk crate to an actual shelf. But there is still much to do. Many of our comrades still struggle under the tyranny of tequila. A pain I know all too well. She had a tequila holster on her hip. She was on roller skates. And when I awoke days later, I had disgraced my family and my nation. Anywho, this is Guerrero, Mexico. This is Guerrero, Mexico, where the spirit of the evolucion is born, where the world's smoothest tasting mezcal is made. Papalote artisanal mezcal, harvested from the Wild Cupreata plant, grown high on mountain slopes. Nature's top shelf. Trademark pending. It is truly worthy of the evolucion, unlike some of you who are destined to drink imperialist tequila with imperialist hangovers. I was once that man. She was on roller skates. She brought me a tray of special gelatin in tiny cups. So tiny. For the rest of you, Papalote is a promise of freedom to drink better, to live better, to love better. So I say to you, in the spirit of the evolucion, give me Papalote or give me death! Viva la evolucion!
My cousin, he's a little high-strung, but he knows his mezcal. I'm Cheech Marin, and I've evolved into a man who appreciates quality, like the magic of mezcal. Now it's your turn. Discover the spirit of a new era. Papalote Mezcal, my mezcal. Viva la evolución.
Cheech Marin! Thanks so much for being here, man. It's good to see you.
It's a real pleasure. Pleasure.
It's a real pressure, yeah. It's a pressure cooker up here. This is a tough
Pressure was all urine. Ba-doom boom.
Cheech, when did you switch from tequila to mezcal?
Recently, because I've drank mezcal before, but it usually had a worm in it, and it was, sold with in front of a striped donkey or something. But that was kind of when it was a novelty item. But it's a real artisanal blend now that a lot of people are drinking mezcal, and I discovered the beauties of it. It's real smoky. It's like exotic, and it doesn't give you a hangover much. And so
you don't want to make a full promise.
No, you don't want to have a slide out there.
It depends on how much you drink, like anything else.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Tequila can give you a pretty badass hangover.
It can. It's a nice. I like tequila. Don't get me wrong. But I like mezcal too because he's better, and smoky.
So how did you get involved with this tequila, with this mezcal?
Well, I got approached by some guys that were distributors, and they said, we'd like to do something with you. How about wine? Nah, there's too many wines. How about tequila? There's a zillion tequilas out there. I said, what about mezcal? It's an undiscovered thing. So they started researching it, and they go, well, I think this can work really well. So we contacted some mezcal manufacturers. It smells good.
Smells great. Let's try some.
Cheers.
Boom. You're going to watch me drink.
And this is the only mezcal you can glug a lot of it and then drive,
Oh, that's really nice.
It is.
That's a really great aftertaste. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it is.
smokiness is really, it's not too much.
It's kind of like a medium blend of smokiness, because a lot of mezcals that people like now is like really smoky, like.
Mezcal's difficult too because you got to get the right mezcal. I've personally, I started getting into mezcal and I went to a liquor store and I just bought the first one that I saw there, brought it home. It was a nightmare. I couldn't do anything
It's really
with it.
strong. You're gonna go to a liquor store and you're gonna see a lot of different mezcals. This is the only one you got to see. Tres Papalote Mezcal. You know, the rest of them, just that's the one you got to see.
And talk to me about the art that's on the bottle here.
The art that's on the bottle is a piece from my collection of Chicano art. I have the world's largest, or the universe's largest collection of Chicano art. And this is a glass statue by the De La Torre brothers, a very internationally well-known artists. And it's the Cuckoo Man, and we put it on the bottle there. And I think it's a really good emblem of what they do.
When did you start collecting Chicano art, and how exactly do you find Chicano art?
They find me at this point.
Or define Chicano art.
Oh, define Chicano art. Chicanos are basically Mexican Americans with a defiant political attitude. It's a voluntary category. You have to declare yourself a Chicano in order to be a Chicano. There's no box on the census that you can check off. You know, you can check off Hispanic, but there's no Chicano. But you can get a PhD in Chicano studies from Harvard University. So what's the message? We exist, we don't exist, and so that's where we're a phantom culture. But Chicanos it was an art movement in the late '60s up until now, and it keeps reinventing itself, and it deals with the sabor or the flavor of the community. It's not a particular style of painting. It's not like impressionist or expression. It is a description of a community from where everybody comes. And so you get the taste and the feel and the smell of it. And when you put them all together, you get the whole 360 of what that community means and how Mexicans are the most populous Latinos in New York City right now. I'm sure everybody that's in New York has experienced that, but everywhere you go.
I mean, it's impossible to have this conversation right now without talking about the election, and there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's impossible. I know. We're all sort of reaching the point of.
Is it over yet?
I mean, I feel that way, but I feel that way, and I feel angry about the election. But at the same time, I have to say I'm a straight white man.
Yeah.
There's very little stakes for me personally, in the sense that nothing's really going to change that much for me. But for Mexican Americans, for African Americans, for LGBTQ Americans, things could really change.
Yeah. For positive, it depends on who gets in the office. But we're in the middle of a situation where we could change. Along with everybody that's right-minded and millennials and everything, it's a time for us to make progress in race relations and what actually the face of our country looks like. This is the time, and this election is a test of that. You know, are we going to be the nation that we purport to be, or are we going to go back in time? And I don't see anybody that wants to go back in time.
As a Mexican American, when you first heard Donald Trump, I think it was probably at least maybe even a year ago at this point, say, we're going to build a wall between us and Mexico, did you think to yourself, okay, that sounds like bullshit and nothing's going to happen here. This isn't going to go that far. And then it got this far, and this many Americans support it. How does that make you feel?
Well, I go with what my partner Tommy Chong says, because he says, oh, that sounds like a good idea. He's going to build a mall. Hey, Mexicans will pay for that, but not a wall.
Everybody loves a mall.
Everybody loves a mall. You can leave the kids there. You can shop. You
can all shop together.
Yeah, exactly. Back and forth. This is a traditional migratory pattern that has existed as long as there's been people in the northern hemisphere that have gone back. When butterflies go back and forth, monarch butterflies, and to impose an arbitrary border or a wall in the middle of this path goes against the natural order of things of the people who live there and have lived there forever,
I want to go back to your Chicano art collection. Okay. When did you start collecting Chicano art? Because I find that fascinating. I find any art collecting fascinating, but especially when it's a specific kind of art. You devote yourself to this one aesthetic.
Yeah, well, in the mid-'80s, I was self-educated in art from a very early age, like 11, 12. I started going to the library and taking all the art books, and okay, that's Caravaggio, that's Da Vinci, that's Miro, that's Picasso, and I learned that way. And then the gap in my knowledge was contemporary art, and I didn't know, so I started going on contemporary art galleries in LA, and that's where I discovered these Chicano painters, and they were great. I realized right away that this group of painters can really paint, because I had seen great painting all my life. I knew what it was. And, but they're not getting any shelf space here. So I said, well, I started buying it, you know, and it's like, first you want to buy something to hang over the couch, but then you realize that there's this school forming, and it's not getting any recognition. So I started buying it more and more, and then I realized it was the perfect storm. I had the money to buy the art, I knew what it was, and I had the face that could get it a lot of publicity. So we started touring the art all over the country. At this date, with the various shows, we've played in over 50 museums, all the way from the Smithsonian to local community museums. And so it's my mantra has been that you can't love or hate Chicano art unless you see it. So my goal has been to get everybody to see Chicano art, because it's a wonderful school of painting, and it keeps evolving. It keeps evolving with every generation, and there's always a political element at the beginning of all these artists, because it's like a report from the community for those people of that age, and it keeps getting reinvigorated every time. So, you know, it's an interesting school of art.
How did gallery owners, sort of museum curators, people in the art world, notoriously somewhat snooty or sort of closed off, first react to Cheech Marin of Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke next movie and albums, proposing doing an art show and having a large collection of Chicano art?
Yeah, I think their reaction was, yeah, right, yes, that sounds good, you know.
Like, what's he gonna do, bring a big joint in here or something? Like,
yeah, you know, they always do, and I started making a intelligent argument for it, and then, but there was we got stonewalled out of a lot of museums, you know. Their attitude was Chicano art isn't fine art, it's agitprop folk art. It's just to rabble rouse in the community. And I said, no, these are really good painters. They make fine. And it was a battle until all of a sudden, boom, the barrier started coming down, because we started doing all these shows and all these big museums, the Smithsonian, the Young, LACMA, the Weissman, all over the country. You know, we did a first show that went for 7 years. And 15 major museums, broke every attendance record in every museum we went to, and it just kept on rolling from there.
That fascinates me that someone would say agitprop, rabble-rousing, community rabble-rousing art is not real art. I mean, isn't one of the purposes of a lot of art to rabble-rouse the community?
That is the definition of art, you know? I mean, for me, art has to be about something. I mean, it's just not a technique, you know, where you thick paint, minimal paint or geometric paint or whatever. It always, for me, it's the best elements of it are something that it's about something, you know, especially about our shared experience. And so it's been easy to do it since then. And they have all the other attributes. They're great painters, you know, technically they're amazing painters, but it's about something, you know. It's about the evolution of our country and communities in our country and how this country is shaped.
And now, as much as we're talking about this art in your personal collection, I don't think we've said once that this book right here is a book of your collection.
The latest book. I think this is the 4th book I've put out on the collection. And sometimes I break down the collection into various parts. This book is called Papel Chicano II, and it's the 2nd collection of works on paper from the collection. And now it just started in the San Diego Museum, and it'll tour 5 or 6 more museums in the next couple of years.
And now I think we have some slides, right?
Slides.
Of some of the paintings. If you want to talk about them, if we pull them up, like here's one right here. What do we have here?
This is great. This is a painting by this young guy, Wenceslao Quiros. You know, Wenceslao is like the James Smith of Chicano painting. This is a watercolor, and it's about these palette collectors or scrappers, and you see them all over L.A. You know, Mexico. They get junk and they take it to the junkyard and they recycle it. But these are particularly palettes, and this is in downtown L.A. I just love the way he uses the watercolors. That the exhaust coming out of the pipes and the other backgrounds, and it's a very hard medium to control, watercolors, because it wants to do its own thing, and that he has that incredible control over that really speaks to his technique.
It's beautiful. Next, here we go.
Oh, I love this painting. This is by Pablo Christie, and it's entitled "What If the Virgin Came Back Today?" And who would her audience be? This is a Virgin of Guadalupe, and it has tattooed gangbangers, and has Indians, and has all these other people just kind of going on. But it's really well painted, and the Virgin is masked, you know, and you don't know what that mask is. But Chicano art asks a lot of questions when you look at it. You have to have an interpretation of it. And it's not like, oh, I think it's nice red, you know. This is about something. It's about our interaction with our social entities. And this is by Pablo Christi. It's a pretty big painting too.
It's really beautiful. Oh, this is amazing. Talk about this.
This is by Cici Segura Gonzalez, and she came out of nowhere. It's a cover. I put her on the cover of the book, and this one is called Yo Soy Chicana, and I am a Chicana, and then she's fairly older, and she's been unknown, and she just came out of nowhere, and I saw her in a gallery, and I started buying her paintings. But this is on paper, and it's a big painting. It takes up the whole cover, but it's all these images that she puts together in a really coherent narrative, you know, and it's really well constructed. I mean,
do you think one of the initial reasons you may have had trouble showing in the United States is because the United States, even though Mexico is so close, has the sort of the WASP population of the United States hasn't contended with or even tried to understand the sort of heritages and the past and the identity of Mexican Americans? Yeah. I mean, I look at something like this, and it's beautifully painted, but the symbols and the history behind it, I don't have that awareness. I'm sure to a person like you who's studied and knows your heritage, you can look at this and see exactly what things represent.
Yeah, that represents a vase right there. So it's like,
I was curious, what does a vase do? What is that?
It's very symbolic for my people. You know, it's like any kind of abstract or things. You know, it doesn't really matter what the artist intended or what his message was. I mean, kind of, but unless the artist is standing next to you when you go into a museum and view the art, it's your interpretation of what that is. And you can make up any story you want. How does it touch you? How does it reach out and talk to you? And that's what we want to do, is perpetuate this conversation between the audience and the artist. And because they're saying something to you. And so that's a very important part of this, you know. So
I love this painting.
It's really good. It's big. And it's on paper. I just bought a new one from her that is very provocative, political. I won't show it to you because I don't want to influence the election.
Wait,
I do want to influence the election.
If you do want to influence the election, I was doing a little research before this interview, and I asked you about this briefly, but you actually were a judge in a 1999 Miss USA pageant working underneath Mr. Dickbag Donald Trump.
Yeah.
What was he like? What did you learn about him seeing him on that stage?
He was a dick even then, man. You know, it was like bully. You know, he came back and the contestant that won, the woman that won, it wasn't his choice, and so he came backstage and browbeat all the judges. You know, I guess he wanted them to change their vote, like he wants everybody to change their vote now. Well, who'd you vote for? And I'm not going to be bullied by this guy. I don't remember. You know, it was like 2 minutes ago, but I don't remember that.
Wow, so even as like the owner of this, he's the owner or the president of this Miss Universe pageant, did he seem like a sort of ineffective baby boss that like everybody just had to deal with being yelled at and then was just kind of like, all right, let Donald go back to his inherited wealth?
Yeah, it's pretty much. You know, I mean, you come back at the Miss America contest and browbeat all the judges who were like, you know, Stuart Weitzman, the shoe guy, and me and somebody. I can't even remember who was on the thing. And the thing about Donald Trump is he's a big guy. And he likes to tower over you and bully you like that. You know, I've dealt with bullies before, and you just kind of, I don't think so. You know, so but that his personality and his MO was the same then as it is now. You know,
just bully and everything's about him.
Everything's about him, and how much he always portrays Hillary as this lying Hillary, and 85% of everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And everybody, oh yeah, but that's just Donald. We have lowered the standards so far.
The bar is only lowered for him, though, and it's not lowered for her at all.
It's amazing. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why the evangelicals don't adopt him, because he is the Antichrist. He's the Antichrist. And they need the Antichrist to show up in order to get their little apocalypse party started, you know? So, I mean, come on, man. It's in front of you. This him. You know?
Do we have another? No, that was the last slide. I think this is.
Think so.
I think so. This is you said your fourth book.
The fourth book. I think you can get this online at some address online. I don't. We'll send it to each and every one of you personally. But I probably at cheechmarin.com. Go there and you can find out everything you want to know about art. This is, I think, the fourth book. Yeah.
And you and Tommy are performing in New York City.
Yeah, we just performed last night at Gotham City Live, or that TV program they have.
I'm always amazed by how long the two of you have been performing together, and
Me too.
I mean, do you at this point, as a working relationship, do you still get incredible enjoyment out of each other? Or are you very good at sort of being like, hey, this is our job, let's go on stage and we're friends, but this is also, we have to maintain a certain professional relationship to sort of maintain this job?
You know, the thing is, between Tommy and I, as soon as we get on stage, everything is cool. I mean, it is. No matter how much we don't, we disagree with each other or having a fight or blah, blah, don't feel good that morning, as soon as we get on stage, it's all bets are off, and we just go with that. And that's been our saving grace forever, you know?
Wow. It's amazing to me to maintain a working relationship with someone for that long. Very few people can do it.
Well, I think the key to it is you have to be separated for 20 years, somewhere in there, right. Which is what we were. And now we're back out doing it.
Is there any plans to make a new movie?
I don't think so. I think that, making a movie, I don't think there's going to be a new movie. Making movies is hard work. I mean, you got to. When I think about making a movie, I'm like, oh, I got to get up and I got to go there and I got to sit in a trailer all day and I come out and it's gonna be nah.
I feel like the Cheech and Chong brand is something that someone like Netflix would pick up or Amazon would pick up. They're definitely looking for.
They would. You got to be willing to do it though.
No, it's you. You're the holdout.
I'm not really willing to do that, man. How about if you just give us the money and then we'll kind of think about it? They don't go that way.
So a movie for you is like a Robert Rodriguez kind of cameo that you can kind of make. I'll show up for 2 days and then
I love working with Robert Rodriguez, man. I made 8 movies with him, and he's good because he's very different from any other director I've ever worked with in that he operates the camera all the time. So he's looking at you through the lens and he's talking to you while you're acting. Make a bigger face, go back, to have this attitude, and while he's operating the camera and he's going back and forth and, like, okay, I get it, you want me to make faces. Okay, what face do you want me to make now? Cool, and that's the way he works, and that's how it comes out great.
And the first time you worked with him was Desperado, right?
Desperado, yeah.
That was a pretty fun movie. It was pretty incredible. I mean, it was El Mariachi with a bigger budget, which was really
exactly
wonderful.
What it was. It was great, you kind of go down there and you work with all those guys, Quentin Tarantino and Danny Trejo. That was one of his first movies with Robert, and he had just gotten out of prison then, so he had it.
Trejo had?
Trejo, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He was in the Slam for a long time. Sweetest guy in the world. Really, he looks like he would tear you. He looks like he would eat you, but he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Unlike Donald Trump, who looks like shit and is shit.
And would eat you.
Let's open up to the audience for questions.
Yes,
right here.
yes sir.
Hey, Cheech. Thank you for being here. Were you able to witness the production process for the mezcal?
Yes, I have briefly, but some of the processors that we started dealing with, that we went to Mexico and saw. It's a tough process. This particular mezcal is made out of Cupreata, agave, and all liquors in this are made out of agave. Some tequila is made out of blue agave. This is Wild Cupreata, and it grows in the highlands, and it's wild, and that's what they make it out of.
Wow. Next question.
Hi, Cheech.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. And by the way, I love your description of Donald Trump. I think that hit the nail right on the head.
Boy, oh
You
boy.
didn't think mine looks like shit and is shit was very good?
Yours too, for sure, Ricky. So my question is about mezcal also.
Sure.
Do you think it's best enjoyed on its own or in a cocktail? And if it isn't a cocktail, what do you like to have it with?
If it's not a cocktail, what?
In a cocktail, like what would you like to mix it with? What kind of cocktail do you like made out of mezcal?
I personally like it in a cocktail. I mean, I don't mind drinking it straight. It has a really smoky, it's a distinctive flavor. It has a smoky aftertaste that lingers. I like it in a cocktail because I just like cocktails, you know. I mean, and you can mix this with a lot of different things. I drank one the other day. It was mezcal and vermouth, dry vermouth, French vermouth with a little bit of liqueur in it, and it was like sophisticated, you know. It was most mezcal cocktails are made with some kind of tropical lime juice or orange juice or, you know, those kind of tropical flavors. But this one was, I had it here in New York, and it was French vermouth, mezcal, and a drop of liquor. I was like, oh, yeah.
One of my favorite summer cocktails is a mezcal old-fashioned. Those are wonderful.
Or you can ask, go if any restaurant or bar you go in, and have them make a Tom Collins, but with mezcal. Oh, wow. It will blow your mind.
Next question.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to know, other than Chicano art, which other art do you appreciate? And also I wanted to know, when did you know that you wanted to dedicate part of your life to showing people Chicano art?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll answer them in the reverse order. I started collecting this art because I'm an inveterate collector of anything. I used to collect marbles, baseball cards, you know, matchbook covers. You know, I have a mania for organization. And so when I started collecting Chicano art, I go, well, yeah, I got to get the whole set, you know, and I got it from every artist. And somewhere during the process after I started showing, displaying this art, I realized that was the purpose that I was collecting this art for, in order to share it with everybody. And so that's what I've been doing, going from coast to coast all over the world now, sharing this art. And because every time, everybody has a vague picture of what Chicano art is if they've never seen it in their mind. Well, it's this or it's that. It has barbed wire and sacred hearts, or, you know. But until they say, oh, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Oh, I like this, you know. So that's that process. And what other kind of art I like? I like a lot of art. You know, I like great painters. I like Caravaggio. I like Picasso. I like Miro. You know, all those kind of guys. I like Basquiat. You know, from these guys. You know, all those. And I was trained in that. You know, because it's art is the only thing we leave behind as a culture. You know, where there's no museums that I know of dedicated to the art of the deal. You know. They're, you know what I mean? And
Go to a museum to look at contracts.
You know, it's the only thing we leave behind. After thousands of years, people still go see the pyramids, you know, and it says what we were as a culture, what we believed in, what our aspirations were, and thousands of years later, people still identify that. You know, they relate to it. And so that's the purpose of art, as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny that you said Basquiat. Basquiat, to me, is one of the most identifiable artists when you're in a museum. Like a Caravaggio is beautiful, but I think there were so many sort of copycats of Caravaggio at that time. Anybody who tried to copy what Basquiat was doing never made it past like their studio. You know, like Basquiat, if you're in a museum, you can turn on and go, Basquiat, you know, it's so specific.
You know, it's because Basquiat is extremely sophisticated and extremely primitive simultaneously. And how do you do that? You know, that's one of the hallmarks of Chicano art. It's very sophisticated and very primitive at the same time. You know, just like most Chicanos, you know, it's that blend of influences in society or in their particular group, you know, and it says how we transcend all those separate. They're coming for me. I don't want.
You know, Trump was in the White House yet. I think we can still talk about him.
Protect me. That mean guy's after me. It says who we are, you know, that you can, because that's the way I operate, you know, on all the art I do. It's sophisticated and primitive simultaneously, and I think that's the way it gets over to people, you know, because everybody identifies with that process.
I have a really dumb question to end on after a really wonderful conversation about art and the craft of mezcal, but I would be remiss to ask this for people who haven't seen you on a stage before, or maybe, you know, we know Tommy loves weed.
Yeah.
That guy loves
He ain't the only one,
weed.
you know.
But that's what my question is for you. Was it ever exaggerated how much weed you smoked, or did you specifically just, you smoke that weed and still do?
Yeah, I still do, but it's pretty much exaggerated. because nobody could smoke that much weed. But
you a vape guy at this point? Do you like the vapes?
You know, I tried to, but I'm a bud guy, man. You know, I'm like.
You like the green, the bud, the flower.
I like the green. I don't know why. It's not good for you, that method, but yeah. You know, how much longer am I going to live anyways, you know? So like, no, but I find that I'm smoking more now than I ever have in my life. And I don't know why, but I'm functioning better too. I can function really well and write and do all my chores and everything. I have to play music and blah, blah, blah. But I find that it does help me medicinally for, I have stomach problems a little bit, you know, and it really calms my stomach down so I'm not nauseous all the time. And you know, because Tommy and I used to say, hey, you know, because we used to get a lot of flack. Well, marijuana, this thing, you guys are promoting it. I said, you know what? But it has medicinal properties. And like, no, you gotta, you know, what if we're right? We said, what if we're right? What if everything we're saying is right? What if it has medicinal properties and it's going to be legal and everybody, get out of here? Well, here we are, honey. You know.
Do you think if marijuana had been made legal, say 10, 15 years ago, you and Tommy would still have an act that was extremely popular?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But it was legal at some point, you know, not until the 20s or 30s that it was made illegal because it sounded Mexican, you know. Marijuana, ooh, it has to be bad, you know.
Well, we found historically most drugs were made illegal because of their connections to immigrant communities in the United States.
It was made illegal because of their connections to hemp, which was the predominant fabric of its time until DuPont invented nylon, rayon, Dacron. And it was in direct competition with those elements that they allied with the government because they had a lot of money and outlawed marijuana because it was made out of hemp. And that was their direct competition.
Hence, Cheech and Chong were born.
Hence, Cheech and Chong. Enter Cheech and Chong.
Cheech, thank you so much for being here. Tres Papalote is on liquor store shelves right now.
Thank
and
you very
Papel
much.
Chicano Dos.
That's been good.
Pick it up in bookstores. Cheech, thank you so much, man.
My
Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
you.